Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WLA 2021 Women Leadership Conference. My name is Akosua Serwah-Boadu. I am the Vice President of Women Leaders in Action. I want to start by saying a big thank you to you all for making the time to join us this morning. If you haven't had your breakfast yet, then make yourself a cup of coffee or tea, and let's have our brunch together. Some warm, freshly baked scones, biscuits, mouth-watering bacon, sausages, and dripping eggs. And for those on the veggie and protein shakes, shake it up and sweeten it up with some honey for you are all in for a good 2 hours treat. Our team this year says it all: empowerment through self-development. Get ready, for we have with us this morning some incredible speakers who will help walk us through our agenda today. Now, I would like to share a little bit about WLA, what we are and what we strive for. Our acronym, WLA, stands for Women Leaders in Action. And we are a New Jersey-based 501c nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering women for success through personal and professional development. Our work is focused on mentorship, promoting good health such as diabetes awareness, cancer awareness, preventative medicine, and providing community outreach activities. Our work is focused on, with that said, let's get the ball rolling. I would like to introduce to you this morning the mistress of ceremony, Mrs. Efua Owusu. Efua is a communications officer at ICAP, Columbia University, an experienced award-winning multimedia journalist turned communications professional. She has experience producing compelling short and long-form narrative features on young people, development, social justice, women's rights issues, and public health. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly honored to introduce Mrs. Efua Owusu. Over to you, Efua.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. It's good to see all of you. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us from. My name again is Efua Owusu, and I will be your moderator for this event. Thank you so much for finding the time to join us here today. We appreciate you. In fact, please do us a favor and introduce yourself to us as well in the chat box if you can. Let us know where you are joining us from, your name and location. I'm not going to go into too much detail about myself since I was introduced very nicely. All I have to say is that the mission and vision of the WLA is one that is dear to my heart, as I have always strived to empower and amplify the voices of my community in whatever way I can through my work. And it is my honor and pleasure to be able to host this event today. Let me begin with giving you all a brief run of show. Today, we're going to be hearing from 4 powerful presenters on 4 topics that feed into the theme of this event, which is empowerment through self-development. First, we will hear from Cato Andah, a Christian psychotherapist who will be talking about hope and resilience in challenging times, which I think we can all agree is very relevant considering the year the whole world has been through. Then we'll have a presentation on COVID-19 myths and facts from pediatrician and public health specialist, Dr. Fayorsey. Get ready with all your questions about COVID. After Dr. Fayorsey's presentation, we will hear from Mrs. Doreen Awuku-Agyeman, a consumer marketing strategist on building your personal brand, very important in this ever increasing social media virtual world. And then finally, we will hear from Mr. Kweku Yeboah, who is a chartered professional accountant on taking ownership of your personal finance. I'm very excited to hear these powerful presentations, and I hope you are too. Of course, we have other exciting content interspersed within this program, which I will announce as we go on. But first of all, I would like to announce the head wrap competition. We thought it would be fun to see everybody all decked out with hats or a head wrap like mine. I'm representing Ghana with my kente head wrap. And since we are all not together and we can't see our beautiful outfits, what better way to see us in this mode? So if you haven't grabbed your hat yet, there's still time to do so. We will be looking through the viewers. So please also turn on your video. We like to see you, how lovely you look, what hats you picked up. And we will be announcing the winner at the end of this event. Again, I would like to thank you for making time to join us today. It's a Saturday, and as a mom of two myself, I know how much the weekends count. So thank you so much for your time. Before I get on with the program and presentations, it would be my honor to invite the president of Women Leaders in Action, Laura Adjangba, for a brief Q&A about the group. As a founding member and visionary leader of Women Leaders in Action, Laura's focus is to use her legal, entrepreneurial, and cultural background to empower women in the areas of self-development, economic subsistence, health, and education. To that end, she's committed to helping others achieve their goals through mentoring and contagious encouragement. This is very true. Laura and I haven't known each other for very long, but she has become a fast mentor. She'll literally hold your hand and say, hey, you can do this. Have you thought about this? Co-figure, because she is a strong believer in the biblical saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. She's also a firm believer in the adage of the late Ghanaian leader, Dr. Kweku, who is also from my hometown, Anumabo. He says, if you educate a man, you educate one person. And if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. If this is the first time you are joining us for any of our events, then this is a great way to quickly learn about how this group started. So please help me welcome Laura Adjangba, the president of the WLA. Hello, Laura. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, friends of WLA. Good morning, friends and family. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Wherever you are, maybe evening, afternoon, we thank you. You could have spent your day anywhere else or your time anywhere else, but you chose to spend it with us today. We are very grateful.
Thank you, Laura. Now, can you please tell us about the genesis of the WLA?
WLA started with a few women, about 5 of us initially. We wanted to set up a support group, so we would gather together at Panera Cafe just to share and dish about our lives, how to lift one another up, and that's how we started. With time, we realized if we're doing this for ourselves, why don't we do it for others? So we formed Women Leaders in Action, a nonprofit, 501c3 based, so that we could actually reach out and help others, because we all need to be helped.
See, so what was the initial goal of the WLA meetings, and when did the fundraising and advocacy come in?
Okay, initially we just wanted to, like I said before, just sit down and talk over coffee or tea at Panera Cafe. That's where we usually met. Then when we decided to form and reach out to others through the nonprofit, we formed the nonprofit. Our goal and mission was to educate women for self-development, also health. We decided we would focus on diabetes awareness, because apparently in our research, we realized that type 2 diabetes, especially half the population, half the people who actually have type 2 diabetes do not even know that they have it. So our goal was to educate them and get doctors to come and talk to them about how can you prevent this, because type 2 is preventable. So we focused on that as well. And we would invite people to come in to talk about other issues, psychology, naturalization. I did a presentation myself on naturalization, how to get the masses naturalized so they don't face deportation. And also, how do you carry yourself up? How do you dress up for an interview? so that you do get that job. So it was a lot of motivational speakers coming in to talk about to the group and to others who would join us. And we decided to do fundraising to help our youth. How do we reach out and help our youth as they go through difficulties also, especially financial, going to schools? Because education is the most important thing you can ever do for a young person, because it will carry them far. So we started doing our fundraising through events. We would ask for donations, and also tickets were sold so people could attend. And last year, we were able to give 4 scholarships to students going to college. Our focus for the scholarships is for students going from high school to college so they can better their education. We also honored a woman, which was a very touching event, because we have a segment also for women who inspire. And the whole group and also the audience at large was inspired with a blind woman from Kenya who graduated cum laude from Rutgers last year. So we were able to give her some of the funds to be able to better herself. So our goal is to always give back and to help others.
Wow, so these are all the different types of events you hold throughout the year.
That is correct.
Let's see. Now tell us a little bit about this virtual conference that we are holding now. What inspired it? What are you hoping people attending will take away as they leave the event today?
Okay, first I have to acknowledge and thank the board, executive board, and also the advisory board. Without them, we would not be able to be where we are. I stand as founder of the organization. It's my dream and vision. However, they have been very, very helpful, because if you have a vision and you share it with yourself, you've shared it with nobody. If you have a vision and others also embrace that vision and carry it on, we reach a lot of people. So I don't want to take up too much time, since it's virtual, to name everybody, but I really would like to acknowledge and thank the advisory board first and foremost, and also the executive board. During COVID last year, during the pandemic, we were going through our own struggles as well. So we decided, why don't we come up with a theme that would really serve others as well as ourselves? And the term empowerment was what we decided on. And we figured, if you develop yourself, if you pick up yourself, if you can even pick up yourself during this pandemic and say, I can do this, I can learn something, even if it's on YouTube or any of the other media, you've done a lot for yourself. Because just picking up yourself to wake up and say, I can even go out there and do this and do that, is difficult. And it was twice as difficult during the pandemic. We're still going through it. So we decided self-development. And today we figured one of the presenters will talk about how to pick yourself up and how to manifest yourself out there. And a lot of people are going through depression, anxiety. And some of us are in denial because we feel it can't happen to me, it can happen to my child, it can happen to my spouse, but it does. And with the pandemic, it's got even worse. As an attorney, I had clients coming in who were just difficult to deal with because they're going through their own thing and they would like to project it to you. Where would I direct them? So we have Abba talking about that. Today, we also have Doreen talking about your personal brand. How do you move yourself forward? How do you dress up for that interview? How do you carry yourself? How do you present yourself? That's the personal branding. And then Kweku will talk about how to stretch that dollar and let your money go far. What do you focus on? And Ruby is focusing on COVID, the myths about it, what to do and what not to do. So we decided, let's empower others also, because these are the questions that we've also had for ourselves. So let's move it forward and let's see if we can get people to help us disseminate the information. And so today, our goal is, if one person, even if one person leaves this conference and leaves with something that they didn't know before, or something that they can go and research and find more about, we have done our job. That is empowerment.
Great, great, amazing. And of course, the work of the WLA will not be possible without the help of many, many supporters and donations. So can you speak to how people can help the WLA and donate to this amazing group?
Keyword is donate, donate, donate. You can donate through our website, and along the way, we'll show you how to donate. We will not be offended by any amount. Any amount you give us, we will take, because it goes towards a good cause.
Great, thank you so much. And Beth, you have a video for us on how people can donate. Great. And there you have it. We are online at empowerwomenforsuccess.org. And so when you go on there, you'll get the instructions on how you can donate to our cause. So now let's move on and start with the reasons for why we are here, the presentations. And we're going to start with a presentation by Mrs. Abba Cato Andah. Abba Cato Andah is a Christian psychotherapist and founder of private counseling practice, Chrysalis Counseling and Coaching. Abba would like you to know that the constant theme in her life and career Abba would like you to know that the constant theme in her life and career has been her concern for the well-being of others and her love for imparting information and new insights to encourage people to live more authentic and rewarding lives. Abba is passionate about mental health, and she's a director of Health and Well-being International, an NGO aimed at mental health education and promotion. She's also the author of the book Reflections of a Hope Monger and the host of the Hope Mongers podcast. Abba lives in Florida with her husband, Edmund, who is a gynecologist, and they are blessed with an adult son and a daughter-in-law. It is my pleasure to welcome you, and we are all looking forward to hearing from you, Abba Cato Andah. Over to you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello again. I'm so honored to be here. I'm Abba Cato Andah, and I want to start out by saying Happy Mother's Day to everyone who mothers in any capacity, anyone who nurtures, who loves, people out there. Happy Mothering Sunday. That's tomorrow. I also want to start out by talking about hope. Hope is something that is so important to me. And I want to sell you on why hope has to be the foundation of everything we do as mothers, as wives, and certainly as women leaders. Hope has to be the foundation. So let me start out by saying this. Listen, life is tougher in a pandemic. We have the last 15 months have been challenging. And not only have people had to navigate just the issues of life, but in the last 15 months, they've had to do it against a backdrop of what this pandemic, this COVID-19 has brought us. The sickness, loss of loved ones, loss of livelihoods, financial pressures, people with unstable relationships who've had to, work from home, and that has caused, even more stress on individuals, children who, because of, e-learning and so on, their progress academically hasn't been as good, and that's been pressure on parents. Of course, there's the political division, there's the racial tension. It's been a lot. And the impact of all of this has been negative on our mental health. What I wanted to say is this: we tend to use the terms interchangeably, mental health, mental illness. The fact is, it's a continuum. Everything that has happened has impacted probably every single one of us in terms of our mental health. And so another pandemic has been going on. That's where our mental health has been compromised. And our reality is that if we don't acknowledge it and begin to put things into place, then mental health may then decline into where you have mental illness. So let me start out by just, distinguishing what's the difference between mental health and then mental illness. And, by the way, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I feel super privileged to have this stage today. So when we are mentally healthy, then we were able to carry on successful mental activity. That is, be productive in our day-to-day activities. When we're mentally healthy, we're able to maintain fulfilling, healthy relationships. We're able to adapt to change, and we're able to cope with stress. That is what happens when mental health is present. All right. Mental illness is when mental health is compromised to the point where now there's a disorder of mental health, and it's actually a medical condition where you can see changes in the chemistry of the brain. Symptoms of mental illness will significantly disrupt a person's life. And of course, though there are different factors that can lead to mental illness, stress that is not dealt with is certainly one of those factors. And if there's one thing I'll leave you guys with, is to understand that mental health affects all of us, regardless of race, religion, education, income, age. It affects all of us. So here are some staggering figures, and which is why we really must acknowledge that, you know, mental health is important, and we really must do things to really, you know, break the stigma that has been so pervasive, especially, you know, in some of our ethnic cultures. So here's the thing: 1 in 4 of us will be affected by mental illness in the course of our lifetimes. So I don't know how many people are watching me or watching the replay, you know, but for every 4 of us, 1 of us has either experienced a mental illness or loves somebody close to them who is suffering as a result of mental illness. 1/3 of global disability is a direct result of mental illness. And mental illness also accounts for 13 years of our healthy lives lost because of ill health, disability, or early death. And mental illness has wide-reaching negative effects on people's education, their employment, their ability to be healthy and have relationships, you know? And so we really must deal with it. So what is mental illness? Well, it's a wide umbrella of disorders. You know, there's a diagnostic manual of mental disorders, and it's everything from major depression, that's clinical depression, to bipolar disorder, to schizophrenia, to alcohol and drug abuse, to autism, ADHD, personality disorders, eating disorders. It is diverse, it is wide-ranging. We cannot afford anymore to deny that it exists. So why am I talking about mental illness and hope? Well, there's, you know, if looking at the symptoms of depression, I don't have that slide up here, but there's about 9 main symptoms. Now, one of those symptoms, if you look at my 3rd point here, is when there is intense sadness and a feeling of helplessness, hopelessness. And so when somebody's experiencing hopelessness for, you know, most days, all day, every day for about 2 weeks, chances are it could be clinical depression. Also, when people are feeling suicidal, having suicidal ideation, they think of ending their lives, ask them, what are they feeling? Well, they're feeling hopeless. You know, the New York Times recently published an article where they said languishing, this word called languishing, a feeling of blah, a feeling of stagnation and emptiness, is the dominant emotion of 2021. I would even wager, you know, hazard a guess that majority of us have been suffering from a low-grade depression. Now, is this something to, you know, make us, you know, scared and worried and give up on life? No, I'm pointing it out so that we can actively do things to stem that flow and really push us back into a positive expectation of life. So we want to, and so therefore by attacking, just going back to this slide, by really addressing hopelessness and injecting hope, then we're hoping to really increase our resilience, make us mentally healthy so that we can cope with what life brings. So what is hope? Well, hope is this: it's a feeling for sure, an expectation for something to happen, for a better future. But hope is so much more than just an idea or a wish or a feeling. So this is the definition of hope that I love. Hope is the belief that your future can be brighter and better than your past, and that you have a role to play in it. Therefore, hope is a very active process. So there's 3 parts of hope. You know, there's 3 parts of hope. Number 1, we must have goals, which means we must start to envision a future that we desire and set goals, have specific, because hope is specific. We must have goals, and then we must decide on what strategies, you know, they're called way power or pathways, are we going to embark upon to achieve those goals. And then finally, we must have agency, willpower, motivation, mental energy to sustain us. You know, again, this languishing, this feeling of just being blah, that, you know, is a pandemic on its own, most, very likely. It keeps us from really rising up and achieving. And so hope is, part of hope is, how do we find the motivation to keep going? Hope is an active approach to life. You know, two important elements of hope are this. One, that we believe that change is possible, and that we expect that the actions we take will result in a better future. So important. Let's believe that change is possible, and that let's expect that the actions we undertake will result in a better future. Hope is intentional, hope is specific, hope is situational, and hope is future focused. So, you know, our belief, you know, as a therapist, one thing I do often is cognitive behavior therapy, where I teach people that your thoughts affect how you feel and will drive your behavior. And this is kind of like an empirical law. The Bible talks about this. You know, people who are, you know, new age, you know, motivational speakers will talk about this. You know, the science of people who deal with like neurophysics and neurochemistry, they will talk about this. Some people talk about it in terms of energy, but your thoughts affect your feelings and will drive your behavior. If you believe that change is possible and that your actions will have a positive outcome, then you are more likely to embark on that positive action. But if you don't believe that change is possible, and you don't believe, and you believe that nothing you do will work, then you will stay stuck. Therefore, you know, we must move from this languishing, from this compromised state of mental health, right, to a place where we are moving on to hope. Hope is what makes us resilient. Now, hope acknowledges the truth of the situation and then works to find the best way to cope. And I want to go back, actually, I had said earlier on that hope consists of three parts: setting goals, having strategies to achieve those goals, and then the mental energy. Now, just going back, actually, because I think this is an important point. In achieving that better future, sometimes the goal may have to change. You know, perhaps this is what I wanted to do. Well, that's not possible. Why? That doesn't mean after that point I begin to languish and not hope. No, I may have to change my goal. Or sometimes in a particular goal, the strategy is not working. So I may need to revamp my strategy. All right. But the point is, the goal, you know, of hope definitely always involves that better future. All right. Now, let me just say this. Hope is not in denial of the facts. Hope is in denial that the situation may in fact be dire, that things are not looking good. But still, hope is you know, chooses to see that there's something we can do to improve the situation. And in studies of hope, they actually identify two different types of hope. There is true hope and there's false hope. And as a physician who studied the effects of hope on his patients, on, you know, patients who were ailing with different diagnoses, and he found that giving them too much information about, you know, their condition made them fearful, overwhelmed, and then they shut down. But then he also found that when he withheld information from them, it also created false hope. So the point is, we want true hope. It's the sweet spot where you understand your reality, you understand your challenges, but you're not overfeeding your brain with negative information, so that you have enough motivation to move forward with positive expectation. Okay. And one thing I want to say is that hope is a movable, you know, factor. Hope is also, it differs in different areas of our lives. The point is, do we have rising hope? What we want is rising hope so that we can attain high hope. Again, research shows that people with high hope do better in life than people with low hope. People with a high hope you know, do better in overcoming trauma, surviving diseases like cancer. They perform better in school. They perform better at work. They navigate through their lives better when there's hope present. Hope buffers the effect of adversity and stress. Hope is resilience, and so it's an important coping resource. Hope can be learned. Hope is intentional, and the whole point is, again, I say it again, we want rising hope. And as women leaders, hope-driven leadership is important as a quality of effective leadership, because we're going through so much. There's so much challenge and chaos and change in the world we face today. And so leaders must be as dedicated to their individuals, to their stakeholders, to their employees, to their colleagues, to their bosses, as they are to the bottom line of the organization. Hope-driven leadership is servant-led. And so when people you work with are treated with respect, compassion, and caring, research shows that it impacts the business in a positive way. And unfortunately, the converse is also true. If you just are looking at the bottom line, the deliverables, without caring about the people you are working with, then you will see a negative impact on that bottom line. So the truth is that hope is what will let you embark on strategies, try new things, gather people together, motivate. That has to happen, but also caring about people has to happen as well. And I'm not sure if my 15 minutes is up yet, but I won't have a time to go through all of these. But listen, there's a whole host of mental health strategies. Google it. Mental health is important. Everybody has been impacted, and we all must have a lifestyle of ways to maintain our mental health. So here's a few things. Keep a regular routine, eat healthy, exercise, have a good sleep every night, do deep breathing, focus on things you love to do, turn off electronics about 30 minutes before bedtime so you can get to bed, limit exposure to bad news. Listen to enough of it to know what's going on, and then turn it off. Otherwise, again, you become overwhelmed with all the negativity. Take time to relax and recharge. Stay connected to positive people. Do journaling. Consider counseling, investing in yourself through counseling. And yes, if something is overwhelming you, talk to somebody you trust. Talk to a doctor or a medical professional. Sometimes this fight for mental health may involve medication as well. There is no shame in talking about our mental health. This thing is impacting all of us. So let's all rise up together, manage our mental health, and most importantly, let's all have hope. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. I do invite people on the call to send in your questions. If you have any questions for Ms. Abba, I will read them out and she will answer them for you. But I have a question for you. So you said that to pick ourselves up during these difficult times, we must have goals, we must believe change is possible, and we must expect that our actions will change our future. Now, what if you have absolutely no motivation to pick yourself up? Then where do you start from?
So, and that's a great question. Thank you so much, Efua. So there's a number of places to start from. First of all, have a support system. Have your tribe of like-minded people, men and women you can talk to, somebody wise, somebody who'll keep your confidence. That helps. If you've been suffering for weeks on end, all day, every day, then listen, go see your internal medicine doctor, your family doctor, or make an appointment and see a therapist. There is, again, no shame, if indeed this is actually a clinical depression, because again, people think depression oftentimes is mostly about feeling sad, and that is true. But one of the big hallmarks of depression is just, a feeling of no vim, no vim, no motivation. So if that's been going on for more than, look, even be conservative, take three weeks, 4 weeks, and you've been having this no motivation, why don't you go and see a doctor? If it's depression or if it's anxiety or some other mental illness, it is a medical condition. We need to understand that. So there's no shame in talking to a doctor. If your blood pressure, you felt your blood pressure was high, you would see a doctor. If really, you're recognizing that, wow, I'm just been so unmotivated for weeks on end, then certainly reach out to a friend you trust, but also consider talking to a doctor. Start from there. Start from there. And then, of course, there's, groups like these that motivate women. There's, there's podcasts, there's, YouTube things to keep you motivated. For me, one thing I really love as well is even music, the power of music. And for those who are, faith-based, there's so many, wonderful worship songs and so on that can, again, get you going. But at least start by talking to somebody. That's the start. Don't ignore it.
Thank you so much for saying that. I want to hone in a bit more on what you said about mental health and us reaching out. You and I come from a society where people don't really understand depression and mental health issues. So how can we as a larger society throw more of a spotlight on mental health issues to encourage people to actually go seek the help that they need? Because there's a bit of stigma in in the Ghanaian community, especially in Africa. There's quite a bit of stigma there. You tell someone you're depressed and you're like, oh, depressed? What are you talking about? Just go do something. You know what I mean? And it's more than that. So how do we throw more of a spotlight on these kinds of issues?
Well, I think it starts educating yourself, Efua. Go ahead and, read. Again, there's so much information online. So read about mental health, read about, mental illness. It starts there. There's so many of us now who have made it our mission, myself included, to talk about mental health. So there's no lack of, even in our communities. And you know what? Invite someone to come and talk to your, in your church. I'll come. I may not be able to come physically, but thanks to technology, there's so much, and so further we can go now. So there's many of us. There's a mental health advocacy for Ghanaian mental health professionals in Ghana and in the diaspora. That's just one. There's many individuals who have made it their mission to talk about mental health and encourage people to seek mental health. When Akosua said to me, Abba, will you come? I was like, yes. I actually had other things going on today, but I'm like, yes, any chance to be able to talk about mental health, that is a mission. So it starts with us, even posting the symptoms of depression, posting that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, posting that if you are finding that you are feeling these ways, don't ignore it, talk to somebody. All of these are ways. It starts with just a spark, and we continue to, believe with hope that as we continue, it will continue to, take roots. But yes, the stigma is there. Yes, it is great. But yes, even as Ghanaians, we are doing a whole lot to change that.
Thank you so much, Abba. That was a great presentation. I learned so much from you. I have more questions, but I will reserve them for after we listen to the rest of the presentations, just because of time. So I'd like to move on to the next presentation by Dr. Ruby Fayorsey on COVID-19 myths and facts. Ruby is a pediatrician and public health specialist with over 25 clinical public health expertise in the US and sub-Saharan Africa. Ruby's work has taken her across the African continent: Ethiopia, Kenya, Mozambique, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Tanzania, and Zambia, where she has devoted herself to improve the health and well-being of families. She's also involved in implementation science research, which focuses on bringing scientific learning into the real world of healthcare delivery for women and children in resource-limited settings. She's a pediatric infectious disease attending physician at the Harlem Hospital in New York and works at the Family Care Clinic, providing clinical care to children, adolescents, and young adults. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ruby Fayorsey. Over to you.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Ruby Fayorsey. I'm a pediatrician and public health specialist. I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about COVID-19. I hope that you leave with a better understanding of some key scientific facts, which will enable you to make informed decisions to protect yourselves, your loved ones, and community so we can fight this global pandemic together. One myth out there is that the COVID vaccine is not safe because they were made too quickly. The 3 COVID-19 vaccines approved in the US have been scientifically proven to be safe and effective. They have gone through clinical trials and safety reviews to get the required authorization from the Food and Drug Administration and the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. While the vaccine was developed rapidly, all the steps have been taken to ensure that they are safe. The reason why we were able to get the vaccines out so fast is that researchers were already studying similar coronaviruses that cause diseases such as severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome. Once the viral genome for SARS-CoV-19 was sequenced, it was shared with researchers and drug manufacturers who immediately began developing potential vaccines, while governments all over provided financial assistance to help with research and production. And so while studies were ongoing, systems were already in place to manufacture the vaccine if the trials were successful. Another reason is the fact that because it was a global pandemic, it was easy to recruit for the vaccine trials. People were eager and willing to roll up their sleeves and volunteer to receive the vaccine. And so the clinical trials were quickly able to reach their endpoints. One myth out there is, I can get COVID from the vaccine. This is not true. None of the approved COVID-19 vaccines uses a live virus, so there's nothing in the vaccine that can cause COVID-19. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines use mRNA, which stands for messenger ribonucleic acid. It teaches our cells how to make a protein that causes an immune response in our bodies. That immune response produces antibodies that protects us from getting infected if the real virus enters our body. The Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca vaccine were developed using a vector, the adenovirus, to carry the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is presented to cells in our body, and our body reacts by producing antibodies. The mRNA in the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine never affects or interacts with your genetic material in any way. It does not enter the nucleus of the cell where our DNA is kept, so cannot affect your DNA. The body gets rid of the mRNA after 1 to 2 weeks. I have already had COVID-19, so I don't need to get the vaccine. This is a myth. You should be vaccinated regardless of whether you have already had COVID-19. This is because we currently do not know how long you're protected from getting sick again after recovering from COVID-19. Even if you have already recovered from COVID-19, it is possible, although rare, you could be infected with the virus that causes COVID-19 again. You should get the vaccine once your symptoms have resolved and after your recommended isolation period ends. Another myth out there is if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you can't get the COVID vaccine. This is not true. Pregnant women are at increased risk for severe COVID-19, especially if they have other underlying comorbidities or illnesses that predispose to severe COVID, like hypertension, diabetes, and obesity. Pregnant women are considered vulnerable populations and were excluded from the initial phase 3 clinical trials of COVID-19. So there is limited data on their efficacy and safety during pregnancy. However, based on what we know about the vaccines and how they work, experts believe that they are unlikely to pose a significant risk for pregnant women. Fortunately, we have data from post-market surveillance the CDC conducts through the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System and the Safe Pregnancy Registry. Currently, over 35,000 pregnant women have received either the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine, and preliminary findings do not show obvious safety signal among pregnant women. However, there's a need for longitudinal follow-up to better understand maternal and infant outcomes after vaccination early in pregnancy. There are also currently several small studies of COVID-19 vaccine in pregnant women underway. My advice is to get the COVID-19 vaccine if you're considering becoming pregnant. The CDC recommendation says if you're pregnant, you can get any of the approved COVID-19 vaccines. You should have a conversation with your medical provider to discuss your risk of exposure to SARS-CoV. This is higher if you're an essential worker. The risk of COVID to you if you acquire the infection and you have any other underlying medical condition. It's also very important that pregnant women adhere to all the non-pharmacologic approaches, including mask wearing and social distancing. There's also no evidence that the COVID-19 vaccine or any other vaccine for that matter can make you infertile or decrease sperm count. What about children? Should they get the vaccine? Children, like pregnant women, are considered vulnerable populations and typically not included in early phases of drug and vaccine trials until the safety profile has been established. To date, of the 3 approved US vaccines, the Pfizer vaccine is the only one approved for children and adolescents 16 years and older. The Moderna and Johnson & Johnson are approved for adolescents 18 years and older. The vaccine has been tested on children 12 to 17, and the approval is pending. There are ongoing studies for younger children 6 months to 11 years. As a pediatrician, I know that approved vaccines are safe in children and have reduced child mortality from infectious diseases significantly. I will encourage parents and caregivers to have their children vaccinated once we have an approved vaccine for children less than 16 years of age. What are some of the most common side effects associated with the currently approved COVID-19 vaccines? At the end of April, 237 million doses of vaccine had been administered in the US. 43% of the US population has received at least 1 dose, and 30% of the US population is fully immunized. The most common side effects reported to the vaccine adverse event reporting system are reactions like fatigue, headache, chills, fever, joint pain, and nausea. And these results are consistent with what were observed in the clinical trials and are essentially expected. Regarding severe anaphylactic reactions, data from the vaccine adverse events reporting system shows a rate of 4.7 cases per million of the Pfizer vaccine administered and 2.5 per million of the Moderna vaccine administered. Those with a history of anaphylaxis should not receive these vaccines. What about the issue of blood clots in women associated with COVID vaccines? The Johnson & Johnson vaccine and the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine have both been associated with rare thrombotic or clotting events. These 2 vaccines are similar and use a vector. The Johnson & Johnson uses a human adenovirus vector, while the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine uses a chimp adenovirus vector. The clotting events associated with both vaccines appear to be similar and include clotting or thrombosis of large vessels associated with low platelets. Platelets are colorless cells in our body that help you to stop bleeding when you have a cut. The pathophysiology is currently not well understood. In the US, 15 cases have been reported after 8 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have been administered. There are no reports of these clotting events associated with the Pfizer vaccine after 97 million plus doses have been administered, and for the Moderna vaccine, only 3 cases after 85 million doses administered. In the case of the Moderna vaccine, these were all associated with normal platelet count and thought to be different from the thrombosis or clotting, which is associated with the AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The CDC looked at data from the vaccine registry to understand what the true incidence of the syndrome they are calling thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. A total of 15 cases were identified in approximately 4 million women who received the vaccine. The median age of the women was 37 years, the range 18 to 59, and all of them had symptoms developing within 8 days of receiving the vaccine, the range 1 week to 2 weeks. 3 women died. There is currently no obvious pattern of underlying comorbidity amongst these women. The estimated rate is 7 per million women aged 18 to 49 years and 0.9 per million women older than 50 years. After careful review, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices has lifted the pause to allow resumption of vaccination with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine with an amendment to the vaccine information. In the US, the recommendation as of the end of April is to offer the vaccine, but advise recipients of potential risk associated with the vaccine. Most experts will say if you're female and in the 18 to 49-year age group and can get another vaccine, you should take that instead of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Another myth out there is, I've already been immunized, so I do not need to wear a mask. There is some truth to this. You're only fully protected, however, 2 weeks after your second dose if you got a 2-dose vaccine, such as the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, or 2 weeks after the single-dose vaccine like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. If you have been fully immunized, you can gather or conduct activities outside without wearing a mask, except in certain crowded settings and venues. You can also gather indoors with fully vaccinated people without wearing a mask or staying 6 feet apart. You can gather indoors with unvaccinated people of any age from another household without mask or staying 6 feet apart, unless any of these people or anyone they live with has an increased risk of severe COVID illness. What about the variants that are circulating? Are they more virulent? And does the COVID vaccine work against these new strains? Viruses constantly change through mutation, and new variants of a virus are expected to occur over time. Sometimes new variants emerge and disappear. Other times, new variants emerge and persist. Multiple variants of the virus that causes COVID-19 have been documented in the United States and globally during this pandemic. There are 5 variants that are circulating in the US as of the end of April and considered variants of concern. The B.1.1.7, this variant was first identified in the US in December and was initially detected in the UK. There are also variants from South Africa and Brazil detected in the US in January, and 2 variants first identified in California in February. These variants seem to spread more easily and quickly than other variants. So far, studies suggest that antibodies generated through vaccination with currently authorized vaccines recognize these variants. Scientists are working to learn more about these variants, and until we have answers, it's important that we all comply with public health mitigation strategies. Myth out there is children cannot get severe forms of COVID. Overall, fewer children have been sick with COVID when compared to adults. And the latest data from the American Academy of Pediatrics shows that children account for nearly 1 in 5 cases of COVID-19. Most children with COVID-19 have mild symptoms or have no symptoms at all. However, some children can get severely ill from COVID-19. They might require hospitalization, intensive care, or even ventilator support to help them breathe. There is a rare but serious medical condition associated with COVID-19 in children called multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. This usually occurs after the acute illness. We do not know which children are at increased risk of developing this illness. What we do know is that similar to adults, children with underlying medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, congenital heart disease, and sickle cell disease are at increased risk of severe disease and hospitalization. Long hauler syndrome only occurs in patients with severe COVID. The jury is out on this one. The term long haulers describes patients who have had COVID disease and still have persistent symptoms even after they have recovered from the acute infection. Currently, the thinking is that this is due to cell damage as a result of the immune response. The syndrome can affect the lungs, the heart, and the brain. People present with shortness of breath, overwhelming feeling of fatigue, inability to keep up with tasks, or what some will call a brain fog or difficulty concentrating. What is not understood is if these symptoms are due specifically to COVID or due to a severe post-viral illness. We also know that people who've been admitted to the ICU can have post-intensive care unit illness. However, this syndrome has also been associated in patients with mild disease who were not hospitalized. The most important thing I'd like to say is that there are several researchers out there working to help us better understand this illness. And hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be able to get more data to understand what the pathophysiology is and who is at risk for developing long haul syndrome, so that we can mitigate the effects of the illness early on and hopefully prevent some of the sequelae. In conclusion, we have reason to be optimistic. We can use science to overcome this pandemic. We are already seeing a steady decrease in cases reported and hospitalizations in the US, and immunization rates are increasing. However, this does not mean we should become complacent and let our guard down, because we know the virus is looking for ways to outsmart us. When we look at the global picture of the epidemic, there are places where the virus is still winning. The best way to protect ourselves and our loved ones and our families is to get vaccinated. When seeking information on COVID, use reputable sources like the CDC website or your state department of health or your county department of health, and ask for information from your medical provider. We can beat this virus if we all do our part, if we mask up, adhere to social distancing, and get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was quite informative. I'm glad I got the chance to listen to this presentation, because I will be honest, I have also been a victim of believing in some of the myths. That first question in the presentation about whether the vaccine is unsafe, that was me. But I'm happy to say that I got my second shot yesterday, and so I didn't listen to all the myths. I actually took action. I have a few questions before we move on with the program, but since Dr. Fayorsey had an emergency to attend to this morning, I would like to invite the Vice President, Mrs. Akosua Serwah-Boadu, to answer some of these questions on her behalf. You met her earlier if you joined the show. She is a family nurse practitioner, so I'm quite confident that she'll be able to fill in Dr. Ruby's shoes. So, Mrs. Serwah-Boadu, are you ready for the questions?
I will try my best, but I think most questions have been answered, but you can go ahead and I'll see what I can do. If not, I'll save it for the infectious disease experts.
One very important question that is close to, I guess, all of our hearts is, how do you convince loved ones to go for the COVID vaccination? Because like I said, I was like, I'm not going for this vaccination. I want the second, the second iteration of this vaccine. So how do you convince loved ones to go and get vaccinated?
The word is loved ones. As much as you love them, they should also be able to love themselves and love everybody around them. So if you care so much for yourself and your family, and with all these millions that have been vaccinated and the outcome has been good, what are you waiting for? It's very easy. One way or the other, we are all gonna die. But if we have a way of holding on to death, it's a good thing. And so I would just ask everyone, do your best to show your love. And that's one way to show your love. Go out there and get vaccinated, because this COVID is for real. We all see it on TV every day, what's happening in India. One of a colleague who worked in Rutgers as an infectious disease physician went to the family in India, and he's gotten the COVID vaccine, Pfizer, 2 of them, and went there and passed away from the variant over there. So this is not a joke. We are in this together. Let's go get vaccinated. It's free. Where else on this earth will you get anything free? So I think we should just really, really take a caution of this and go and get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thanks. Now, with these new COVID variants, will there be a cause for booster vaccines? And how long of an immunity are we expecting with the current vaccination?
I see that the CDC is currently working on that, and we will be informed soon as to what the next plan of action is. So we'll pray. We all have to do that in our prayers, that they get the answers soon. But just like the flu shots that we get yearly, you know, especially we in the healthcare field, we always have to have it. If not, you can't go to work, or sometimes you go to work, but you have to wear a mask all the time or something. I think it will get to a point that we probably will need the booster to help our immune system get the boost of it. So, but we'll get the information soon.
Great. Thank you so much. And I would like to invite the audience to type in any questions that they have. We will have some time at the end of all the presentations to go through any questions that you might have for our presenters. At this juncture, I would like to once again invite the president of the WLA, Mrs. Laura Adjangba, to share a few words with us.
Dear friends of WLA, at this time, we have gone through a lot with this pandemic, and we've lost several of our friends, family, co-workers, strangers that we don't even know, but we bumped into at some point or the other. To that end, WLA would like to hold a minute of silence to remember all the people that we lost during this pandemic.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burden me, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you've come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. And I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. And I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Thank you so much for that inspiring song. Indeed, we have lost just too many people to COVID this past year. And if you've lost a loved one to COVID, I'm wishing you strength as we all go through this difficult time. I would like to remind you of how you can support the WLA and our events. You can always go onto our website, empowerwomenforsuccess.org, and you'll see the donate button right on our homepage. I will also like to remind you to grab your hats, your head wrap. If you haven't already, we are celebrating Mother's Day and we are celebrating each other. And we want to just see how beautiful you look. So if you haven't had time to go grab your hat, please do so. It's a competition and you're going to get something lovely at the end of this event. Speaking of something lovely, I would like us to just briefly watch this video from Miss Rachel Dodu. She is the RD Collection, that's the name of her brand, and she is sponsoring our lovely gifts that we'll give to the person who wins this head wrap hat competition. So have a look. Okay, so that was a lovely video of those who sponsored today's event. And so I would now like to turn the tables over to our next presenter, who is Mrs. Doreen Awuku-Agyeman. She is a results-oriented marketing strategist with over 15 years of experience in leading high-profile multi-million-dollar projects. She currently works as the Director of Segment and Multicultural Marketing for Cox Communications. Prior to joining Cox, Doreen was the consumer marketing strategist and value proposition leader for Verizon's 5th generation of wireless technology, what we are all calling 5G, where Doreen had oversight and developed the strategic marketing and communications plan for all things 5G technology. Doreen also worked as the Regional Public Relations Officer for the Electricity Corporation of Ghana, now the Electricity Company of Ghana, Accra West Region. She also worked as an investigative journalist for one of Ghana's most prestigious newspapers, the Free Press. She's a mentor, a motivational speaker, and an avid advocate on social justice issues concerning women and children. She spends most of her free time volunteering for her son's school and her community. She enjoys traveling, reading, walking, cooking, baking, listening to music, watching movies, and spending quality time with loved ones. She's married to Dr. Awuku-Agyeman and has a son, Kweku Yeboah. So welcome to the program, Mrs. Awuku-Agyeman, and she is going to give us her presentation now on building your personal brand.
Hello, everyone. My name is Doreen Awuku-Agyeman, and I'm the Director for Segment and Multicultural Marketing Strategy for Cox Communications. I am excited to be part of the Women Leaders in Action virtual conference, and I will be speaking to you about building your personal brand. Building your personal brand is about making a conscious decision to stay authentically you. Cast your mind back. Think about the companies and the brands you patronize. What makes you buy from them and why? For many people, they buy or do business with companies they trust or with brand names they love. For others, they simply do business with the companies and brands because something about that company appeals to them. Your personal brand is exactly that special something about you that I am going to help you harness and bloom so that when people think about you, they think about that special something that makes you so unique. It's your personal brand. The best way to build a personal brand is to take stock of your personal values and other attributes that makes you stand out from the crowd. To help you identify these, sit back and think and list attributes that really describes who you are. And this has to be single words. So for instance, you could say you are reliable, friendly, or a go-getter. Once you have listed the words that describes you, ask your close friends and family members to do so. Have them list 2 or 3 words that describes who you are. Then ask your spouse, child, or children to do the same without sharing with them what your friends and other family members wrote about you. If what you wrote is remotely different from that of your spouse, your kids, your friends, and families, then you know you have work to do. But if what you wrote is the same or close to what they wrote about you, then you are in business. You, my dear friend, are on your way to developing your personal brand. Once you've identified who you are or have an idea of who you think you might be, then it's time for you to invest in that personal brand you are building. To invest in your personal brand, you must bear certain things in mind. Things like, what is your platform? Where do you want to showcase your brand? Just as these companies do, the brands that you patronize are showcasing the things, products, and services they sell on platforms. It could be on TV, it could be on social media. So the same thing for you, where do you want to showcase your brand? How do you get people to know about you? Is it just by getting to know you? Is it through somebody else, by somebody saying, wow, do you know this person? Have you seen this person? This is who they are. Now, what makes you unique or special that people should care about your brand? So then you have to cast your mind back to those words you wrote. What are your strengths? How do you add value to others? And why should people care about you? When people are with you, do they feel really special to be associated with you, or are you draining the energy out of them? It's all part of your brand. You have to own your space. And of course, You have to know your stuff. And by knowing your stuff, you also have to be authentic. Share your knowledge. Practice abundance. The person you help may be the one who saves you someday. Know your values and your priorities, especially your priorities, because if you don't, other people will make them for you. What is your North Star? Every interaction as you build your brand is going to impact the brand. So above all, be yourself. Because you know what? Everybody else is taken. After you know your brand, you have to work to evolve into your individuality and uniqueness. It is now time, after you've taken stock, listed those strengths, and know who you are. It's time for you to step out, build, and give. Remember, Rome was not built in a day. It certainly will take time to evolve your brand, but that's okay. It's okay as long as you remain authentic. People will know if you're not. Be ethical. Don't step on others to get what you want. Remember where you came from. And don't let that define or limit your potential. Stand out and stand tall. Improve upon your skills and education. If you are a professional or a career woman or man, have your resume and CV up to date and be ready for opportunities. Be ready to showcase your brand through your resume. It's a crucial advertisement of yourself, your skills, abilities, and achievements. Showcase them. You've earned it. Be confident and demand the ball. Wear your crown and exude that confidence. Above all, keep your eye on the prize. And the prize here is your uniqueness. You want to be able to stand out from that crowd. Stand out in your brand awareness campaign. This is a campaign about yourself, especially in your resume as a career or professional. Say what and who you are. Say who you help. Say how you make their life and work better. Give proof that you are credible. Why should somebody care about you? And I keep asking that. Why should somebody care about you and your brand? What are the top 5 benefits of hiring you, of getting to know you, or getting to know your brand? If it's your expertise, say it in that resume. It's your brand. If it's your experience, indicate that. If it's your accomplishments, my goodness, highlight them. You did them. Let the world know that you did them. So highlight them. If it's your skills, go ahead and flaunt them. If it's your authenticity and uniqueness, my goodness, let the world know. As you build your personal brand, my final thought for you is this. Remember who you are and where you are coming from. Family roots is important when building your brand. Just as those companies, many companies refer to their mother company or will tell you they've been in existence for hundreds of years. That is why family root is so important when building your brand. Like the branches on the tree, family grow in different directions, yet the roots remain as one. And when you build that brand and have enough, even when you don't have enough, learn to give back. Because it is through giving back and helping others that you are able to improve upon what you already have. So I will say it again. Learn to give back. Personally, I have learned to give not because I have a lot or because I have too much to give, but because I have known the feeling of not having any. But finally, build your personal brand and always, always, always find time for things that make you happy. It doesn't mean you are building your brand, so you have to let everything else go. Find time to do the things that make you happy. After all, you are building your personal brand. I hope you build that brand because I'll be looking out for you.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful and inspiring. And Doreen is here with us. Hello, welcome to the program.
Hello, Efua. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, just a very quick question for you. What classes or resources do you suggest one can take for personal branding?
I think it's not so much about classes, right? Because especially those of us coming from, Africa, you grow up with so many people around you. But the most important thing is about really making sure that you are dealing or connecting with like-minded people. So that if you are with people where if you are the only smartest or the smartest people among a group of people, then you know it's time to move. But by all means, you need people who are going to challenge you and also empower you to think beyond the now. So learning from people who, it could be your parents, it could be somebody you aspire to be or somebody you admire, finding out what is it about that person or those people that you admire so much is important. Classes really are not important, but reading is important because nobody really teaches you about how to build your brand. But really, as you learn to define and understand who you are and identifying those skills that really sets you apart from everybody else, honing in and making sure that you are with like-minded people are what's going to do the trick for you.
Great. Thank you so much. I have a few more questions, but in the interest of time, I would like to move on to our next presentation. I would like to remind everybody to send in their comments or questions, since there will be time after the presentations to go through that. Our next presentation is on taking ownership of your personal finance by Kweku Yeboah, who is a practicing certified public accountant dedicated to providing wide-ranging tax-related services and personal finance coaching to families in the tri-state area. As a detail-oriented accounting professional, Kweku has also worked predominantly in corporate accounting roles for the last 20 years, while also working with families on their finances. He's currently a Senior Director of Accounting and Finance for Time Inc. Prior to Time Inc., Kweku was a controller at CBRE. He's a Chartered Global Management Accountant, a member of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and also holds a Real Property Administrator designation from the Building Owners and Managers Institute. Kweku lives right here in New Jersey with his wife, Penny, and 3 wonderful kids. And he loves the game of golf and spending time with his family. Thank you so much for joining us and for making the time to speak with us today. Over to you, Kweku.
Thank you for having me. Once again, I appreciate everybody that was able to join us today. Doreen, I've heard always present, so she's amazing. Thank you, Ruby. And also, Abba's presentation was great. I should just, after listening to her, I realized that there isn't much that I need to do because she basically covered everything that I wanted to say. In putting this together, I wrote taking ownership of your personal finance as the topic I wanted to talk about. But after listening to Abba, I should probably change it to transforming hope to practical steps. How do we do that? It's just basically taking what Abba had said and bringing it into the financial world. And so how do I want to approach this? I want to talk about how you need to know your income and how you need to understand your outgo. Income and outgo is what basically controls our personal finance. We also need to prepare for the unexpected, and then I'll teach you something called set it and forget it, which has to do with investments. In our walk of life, our daily walk of life, every time that most people don't realize how much money they have until during tax season. They find out how much they make when they sit across the desk from their tax person, and they go, oh, wait, I made this much money? I really didn't feel that way throughout the year. And that's the problem that we have in society. Most people do not know their income. And when I say people don't know their income, it's not like they don't know their annual salary. But when we apply for the job or personal companies that we run, what happens is that we sign up for a whole lot of things that come out of our paycheck that in the end, we don't even know how much we have. The typical things that come out of your paycheck include something like a short-term care or short-term disability, long-term care. Some people even sign up for legal aid. Then there is that duck thing called AFLAC. And then we have the health insurance. Do you sign up for PPO? Do you sign up for HMO? Do you sign up for HSA? Most people don't know it. Other people don't realize that they need life insurance. And then the question becomes, do you sign up for life insurance with your job? Do you sign up on your own? And so I just want to be able to cover this on the practical steps so that we all, when we get to the job place, we'll be able to understand what we're doing. First off, unless you're about 60 years and you're starting a job, half of these things that come out of your paycheck are pretty useless. I will use some harsh words just to get the impact. So please pardon me if you feel it's too harsh. Short-term disability, unless you're working on some job that has to do with electrical cables that you think is going to electrocute you, I don't know how many people in your workplace will sign up for or will use their short-term disability. Long-term care is not something that you need unless you're about 60 years old. Long-term care is another word for what do you call staying in a group home or those sort of things. And none of us during our work life end up in a group home unless we are very up there in age, and that is where we get into that problem. And so if you are in your 30s, 20s, 40s, 50s, getting long-term care insurance is not useful. The average stay in a long-term care facility is about 2 years. And so if you sign up for these things and you're paying for however many years that you pay for, you realize that you're basically throwing money away. You're better off buying it when you're in your 60s. And maybe that's when you take the most benefit out of. Healthcare is kind of dicey because it's not the same across every company. Some have PPO, some have HMO, and some have HSA. You need to find out what your health needs are as you go through the year. So each year's health needs might be different. You may be a 20-year-old living on your own, in which case an HSA plan will be fine if you're healthy, because all you need is maintenance. And then you want to be able to save some of the money in your HSA, because in HSA contributions, once you contribute it and you don't use it, it stays for you. So it will keep repeating itself as you go, as you don't use. So you build some sort of a reserve that once you get up there in age and you need healthcare, you have money in an account in order to use for such thing. But you also have HMO and PPO. Depends on what your company offers, because if that's the year that you're going to have a baby, it's very important that you have the right kind of insurance, because some of these co-payments could hurt you. And so if you have a baby and you're healthy, your spouse is healthy, your child is healthy, and all you need is maintenance, then maybe it's time to go back from PPO to HSA if it's available. And so these are very practical things that you have to do and requires a lot of communication. The other thing I want to talk about is life insurance. We all need life insurance. Oftentimes when I give this talk, the insurance brokers in our midst want to chase me up, because I'm not a big fan of whole life insurance. I think it's the most useless insurance you could buy. And also, if you're buying insurance, I would advise that you don't buy it from your workplace unless you have some sort of illness that prevents you from getting a good rate on the insurance market on your own. The reason for that is, on the average, if you're changing jobs every 5 years, every 10 years, that means that if you got insurance in 5 years, term life insurance, you're probably going to lose it, or you change jobs, that insurance goes away and you have to sign up for a new insurance. The best way to do it is buy the insurance on your own, separate from your work. And I'd advise that you buy a term life insurance. And I would explain down the line why you need term life insurance. A 20-year term life insurance is more than enough. And if you're buying, you buy maybe a 10 times what your annual salary is. The reason for that is, if you buy a whole life insurance, I just want you to understand that 50% of about 50% of the amount you pay in premium goes to your broker's pocket. It really doesn't buy you insurance. And you can buy more insurance with term life than whole life. If you follow some of the things I'm talking about, or I'll be talking about today, you would realize that in 20 years, your need for insurance would have minimized. It would have been very, very little. You only buy the insurance because you want to in 20 years. But you want to buy a term life, a 20-year, 25-year term life if you're younger. And then you would see, as I go through, you see why the term life insurance makes a lot more sense than the whole life sense, rather than giving money to your broker. The other thing I want to mention, the other thing that comes out of your income is your 401k. This is the most important thing that should be coming out of your income, but the majority of people seems to treat it like a throwaway bucket. 90% of millionaires in America are 401k millionaires. That means all the celebrities you see and all the people that flaunt your money only account for 10%. So if you have 90% of millionaires doing 401k or becoming millionaires because of 401k, why are you not participating in it? This is what Abba calls the true hope, right? You set a goal, you want a goal, you're trying to envision something for your future and you could pull it through. So you're taking practical, intentional steps to become, the millionaire that you want to be. The average person that has $1 million in their 401k is believed that they contributed approximately $300,000. So you're contributing $300,000 into a 401k plan. And then by the time you retire, or when you're up there in age, it turns into $1 million. If you took the average of a 401k over the last 10 years, which is about 15,000, that means that if you're single, you paid religiously into this account for 18 years in order for it to turn into $1 million. If you're married, it means that both you and your spouse pretty much did it in 9 years. So being a millionaire, which is basically your net worth, could quickly climb to $1 million if you take very active participation in your 401k. And so I will entreat everybody to continue contributing more into your 401k more than anything else. This should be your primary investment vehicle. Most companies have very good funds within their 401k portfolio that you could pick from. And there isn't enough time to go through the various mutual funds that make up a 401k. But you do understand that if you put it in any good fund that is basically churning out about 8% to 10% annually, you should pretty much make that $1 million in less than even the 18 years. Because remember, your company may be also matching your 401k. I don't want to take a lot of time, but I want to make sure you covered since this is more of the Women Leaders in Action event, I want to state also that 80% of married women will outlive their husbands. So 80% of the married women on this platform will outlive their husbands, which means that you have to, if you're going to live that long, you need a lot of money to live that long. And so this is probably the time that if you're married, you should be having this conversation with your husband. And I have to tell you that the majority of people that initiate contact with me for personal finance are mostly on the women's side. The women start, and then the husband reluctantly follow on, and then they become the champions of it. Hey, we've always given it up to you. You tell us what ring you want, we buy it, and then we look like geniuses. So you could also lead us closely to the personal finance goals. And eventually, when we understand it, we'll act like it was our original idea. You're pretty much used to that. And so I want to end on one note, which is on the hope note, or true hope. And I want to use the good book, the Bible, as an illustration of what it says about things. We grew up understanding, those of us who came to the United States at a younger age, that we needed to build our credit. If you don't build your credit, you're not going to be able to buy a house, you can't do anything. But these are all myths, they're not true. Prior to recently, there was something called manual underwriting, which people do, which is a way to say that without credit and with a good income, you could still buy a home, or you could still qualify for a mortgage without having to get into credit card mess. Credit cards are one of the most marketed, the best marketing ploy you can ever imagine in the system. And so I want to try to caution you on that, and also tell you that you need to begin to change your ways. You can't follow the pattern that everyone is creating, expecting to get a different result. That is what we call insanity. And the good book, the Bible, says it best on Romans 12:2, that we should not try to be conforming with the patterns of the world, the pattern of credit card, building this, building that. However, we should start by transforming. We should transform ourselves by renewing our mind, taking in new ideas, so that we would be able to understand the three things that are important to us: what is good, what is pleasing, and what is mature. So if for nothing, this afternoon, I just want to tell you that you need to start changing your mindset about your personal finance, so that you'll be able to enjoy what is good, what is pleasing, and what is mature to the human being. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kweku. That was really, really insightful. Great pointers there. Two quick questions for you. So you spoke a lot to those who I would say work for an institution or work for someone, getting the PPO, signing up for the HSA account. But what if you work for yourself? What are some of the things you can do, and where can you find resources for this information?
With respect to health insurance, it is usually, you're going to go into the open market to try to see who gives you the best rate. There are some small business insurance offers that are out there where within a state, the insurance policies or the companies would ban a lot of small businesses and give them one rate. That is one way to shop. But you also need to be mindful of your own health requirements. And so you may not need a PPO or an HMO. Mostly every investment company will offer you some sort of an HSA insurance on your own. And so you have to tailor it based on your health needs. In terms of retirement investing, there is a self-directed 401k, or what they call the simple retirement plan, which offers you as a self-employed person to also have your own sort of 401k. And I'm not the financial advisor. And so I would direct you to whatever brokerage house that you feel comfortable with, Fidelity, what are the other ones? Vanguard, Charles Schwab, or even a broker to walk you through. What I want you to pick from today is that don't be signing up for all those things that rob you out of your money. And I want to make sure that I point that out. It sounds very counterintuitive, but again, it requires transforming the mind.
So what would be a simple financial algorithm to live by?
Live on less than you make.
Thank you so much.
That's
We'll try.
Exactly.
We'll try to do that. Thank you so much, Kweku. This has been a very insightful presentation. I wish you could continue the conversation, but in the interest of time, again, I would have to move on. And I would like to invite the Vice President again, Akosua Serwah-Boadu, to give us an announcement about our scholarships. Over to you, Akosua.
Women Leaders in Action is a nonprofit organization created to provide a helping hand to our local communities in New Jersey. To our youth, our WLA scholarship provides the support needed for students pursuing a higher education. You can apply now by visiting empowerwomenforsuccess.org/scholarship. Women Leaders in Action, empowering women for success.
With that said, I am here to announce or to give you a brief information on our WLA scholarship application process. Before I do that, I would like to quote this from the late Nelson Mandela. He said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." When you think about that, that's very powerful. A lot of us has gained so much from educating ourselves. And one of the things WLA does for the community is to provide this scholarship award to help ease the monetary burden on our college students. This is free money coming to you or your kid. And all you have to do is apply, meaning ask, and it shall be given. So, we get it through everyone, and we also give it back out. We are just a medium of spreading. If we don't have enough, we go to Kweku, and Kweku always finds us the money. Anyway, sometimes, these college students need books, computers, softwares. A lot of times they actually need food to be able to stay up all night studying. Our scholarship application for the year 2021 started April 1st and ended April 30th. However, this year, due to COVID and everything going on, we have extended the application period to end in May 21st, 2021. So if you haven't gotten to it yet, and you're on this platform, spread the word. We are here to give what we have. We have a lot, so please don't sit back. To do that, please do visit our website and fill up the application and the necessary documentation needed. The application requirement can also be found on the website, empowerwomenforsuccess.org /scholarship application forms. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now a video again about how to donate. And there you have it. You can visit us at empowerwomenforsuccess.org and help us with all our initiatives, and you can donate there as well. All too soon, we have come to the tail end of our program, and I would like to thank you all so much for joining us today and for making time this Saturday to be with us. When I started, I asked everyone to tell us where they were joining us from. And so I like to just mention some of the names that have come up in the chat box. Gladys Mwakun is joining us right here from New Jersey. Efua Owusu is joining us from New York. Chichi Wachuku is joining us from New Jersey. Rachel Dodu is on the line. Sharon Serwah-Boadu is joining us from Canada. Margaret Dankwa is joining us from London. Malaki Ott is joining us from, is it Virginia or Maryland? So I like to thank everyone. Ginny is joining us from London. Vera is joining us from Houston. Thank you everyone for joining us here today. Malaki is joining from Maryland. Thank you, Malaki, for that correction. So I would like to now invite the president of WLA once again, Laura Adjangba, to give us the closing remarks. Laura, over to you.
Thank you so much. And Efua and everybody else today, thank you, friends of WLA. Thank you to the presenters. Education is very powerful. And if you forget anything else we've said today, the essence of WLA is to educate ourselves and also to educate others. So we thank you for being here today. In the words of Etienne Greye, I believe a French author, I shall pass this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer it or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. You see, the pandemic has shown us there were so many should have, would have, could have that we didn't do. So many friends that we should have reached out to that we didn't, who are no longer with us. So if there's anything that you got from this event today, it is to reach out. We heard the presenters talk about helping others. That is what WLA is about. That is the essence of WLA. If we've touched you in any way today, please do not forget to donate. At this time, I would like to thank the video crew, Beth, Carlos, and Will. Will came to sing for us today and to play the guitar. Beth, Carlos, and Will, especially Beth and Carlos, put this phenomenal thing together. I don't even know. I had no clue Beth had and Carlos have these skills that they showed us today. We are very grateful to them. I would also like to thank friends of WLA, that's wherever you are, all the people that joined us today from London. I'd like to acknowledge Leonora from London and others all over the world who came in to listen to us today. We are very, very grateful. It took a lot to put this together. And along the way, the executive board, we stayed up nights on end. Akosua Serwah-Boadu, I would like to thank you. Kathy, who is the compliance coordinator, Mavis, who let us know what we can do with our money, the treasurer, and Beth. I thank you very, very much. I thank you, the ambassadors also of WLA, the advisory board members, you saw some of them today, Kweku, Doreen, Ruby, thank you very much. Abba, all the way from Florida, who joined us. And I'd like to acknowledge Abba's husband, who's also my classmate from Achimota. It is his birthday today, and Abba still joined us to give us information. So Eddie, thank you. Happy birthday for letting your wife help us today. I would be remiss if I did not thank the other advisory board members who were not able to join us today. Irene, Avril, Kwabna, Dr. Aluya, we thank you very much. My own family, my mom taught me the power of education. And I remember her saying, Laura, I don't have a cocoa farm to grow cocoa and take care of you, because that was a cash crop in Ghana back in the day, and the cocoa farmers made a lot of money from that. But she said, your education will take you places. So we are vessels being used. So please donate to our cause. I'd like to thank my husband, Sam Adjangba, who sees me juggling both my personal practice and also the nonprofit, which is WLA, my children, Margaret and Ian, my brother, Eric, and my mother. I thank you all. I hope I have not forgotten anybody, because usually when I thank people, I end up forgetting somebody. But for all the friends, family, well-wishers who joined us today, I really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I hope you will continue to support us. We have other events coming. Please join us from wherever you are. COVID has shown us that you can do whatever you want electronically through virtual. So I am forever grateful. It's not just me. It takes a village to raise a child. So you see me here being called president, but it is the work of the people who surround me. And I'm very, very grateful to the board, forever grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. And happy Mother's Day as well to all, not necessarily just the mothers, but people who have advocated for others in the capacity of mothering. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Laura. And now I'd like to invite Catherine Mutunga, who is the compliance coordinator, to tell us about our upcoming events.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Mutunga. I'm the Governance and Compliance Coordinator of WLA, Women Leaders in Action. Our upcoming event, which is going to be in November, the next one is the Gala. The Gala is our major money maker. From there, we hold dinners, we dance, and we raise some money to support the organization and to be able to give. The hand that gives always receives. We have to receive from you during the gala so that we can also be able to give. So all I can say is get vaccinated so that we can hold it together and be there to dance and showcase even more arts and be able to dance together and enjoy. Thank you. It is going to be on the November 27th, 2021. Looking forward to see you dance.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to being there. Okay. Now the time everybody has been waiting for. The announcement of the hat competition winner, Akosua. Who is it going to be? We're going to spotlight everybody. First of all, Beth will spotlight everybody. So if you have your hats, please turn on your camera. Even if you don't have a hat, let's see you. Let's see your beautiful face. Let's see who joined us here today. Okay, we will really appreciate that. Everybody, hi. Oh, I'm seeing a funky purple hat over here. The nice hot one. And the men too came to represent. Hello, Eric. I like your hat.
Virginia.
Wow. So much. Thank you so much for being part of this. Yes, Sophia, I see your nice hat. It's very interesting. I love it.
Oh. That is a nice. Oh.
The Kente is also representing. Okay, so hi.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Paul.
Paul, wow, nice hat. We didn't see that hat before. Mr. Paul. Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mavis Awuku, Treasurer of WLA. I get the honor of announcing the winner of this headpiece competition. There's so many different and marvelous showing this afternoon. Thank you for showing it. Oh my gosh, Mr. Eric, I like that style you're wearing. You look like a gangster. Like marvelous wearing. The winner will receive a gift basket from the R&D collection sponsorship. Thank you for donating for this wonderful occasion. It gives me great pleasure to announce the winner. Miss Agnes will be our winner. Miss Agnes, please show your wonderful hat. You had your video off for a while. But hopefully, I see you are there, but I don't see your picture.
I don't know what's happening to my camera.
Your video went out, right? Okay.
Yeah, it did.
For a while, and then all of a sudden
it kind of froze. I don't know.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we see?
That was really nice.
We can't see it.
Yeah, because her video went out for some reason. I noticed.
I don't know what's going on with my video.
Yeah.
I like the picture on there was just frozen, but I don't know what.
Logo and come back in. We want to see the hat.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
Please.
Okay.
Just leave the meeting and rejoin.
Okay, let me do that.
Okay, so while we wait for her to do that, we would like to play this short Mother's Day recognition video. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and we'd just like to recognize our mothers and say thank you to our wonderful moms and mom figures out there. Okay, I see that Agnes is back, but I'm not sure if she's show her video. Agnes, I see you.
I don't know what's happening. I'm just gonna try and do it through my phone. Must be my computer. I'll just do it in a minute because I don't see me up there, but I'll just use my phone. I'll get it.
Okay. But thank you everybody for representing, the men for representing. We really appreciate that. And happy Mother's Day to everybody on the line, the fathers as well. There are some fathers who also play the mom's role, so we also need to appreciate them. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting this event for WLA. I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of it. I hope you also learned a lot and were able to take away some tidbits from all the presenters. I'll just like to remind you that you can find all the info you need to know about donating to the WLA, being part of our activities on our website, which is empowerwomenforsuccess.org. We will also be sharing this recording on our website and our various social media handles. So you can also share with people who were not able to come to this event today, but I'm really grateful that you were all able to join us. One more round for Agnes. Can we see your hat before we leave? Okay, we see you. But we can't hear you on your phone, but we see you. Great, beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody, and have a great rest of your Saturday.
Thank you, Agnes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Agnes. Now we see
Thank you, Agnes.
Beautiful, purple.
Beautiful, Agnes. Thank you.